Sure. Audiology is a field that is often not recognized for how broad it actually is. So it's not just about hearing aids. There are so many specialties within audiology, from assessing balance disorders to helping with auditory processing disorders. It's about helping people to continue to live their lives to the fullest, even when hearing loss or other challenges are part of the picture. So my introduction into
Oh, that,
audiology, I beg your pardon. Sorry, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
well, that's beautiful.
Hello.
Hey, sorry about that. So, would you mind telling me what exactly inspired you to go into audiology itself? Because we think that in the medical field, there's like a whole lot of different aspect fields that people could study, but then the one of hearing, why study audiology?
I feel like what really called me into audiology specifically. Now, growing up, I've had an interest in healthcare. I love working with people, but I always had a deep interest in technology as well. So this field of audiology, particularly the area of rehabilitation, is what caught my interest. Growing up in South Africa, I saw how important rehabilitation is for people who can't always benefit from surgery or from medical treatments. Now, audiology is the field that can assist with that. It goes beyond what surgical treatment is able to do or medicinal treatment is able to do. And we look at how we can improve quality of life beyond those avenues.
Oh, so basically, the study of audiology or the study that you're currently doing, it's prevention before the cure.
We aim to prevent and then we look beyond what cannot be cured. We look at how to rehabilitate and still look at how we can have the best life possible despite the challenges that we face. And I feel like that concept itself is what allows me to have a deep appreciation for my field.
Oh, no, that's very beautiful use. Do you have a question there, TC?
Yes, because in today's fast-paced world, the youth are constantly plugged in, whether it's listening to music through their headphones, attending loud parties, or engaging in various recreational activities that involve high decibel levels. And obviously, in your field of audiology, you deal with hearing loss. So young people today are often seen with headphones on, listening to music at high volumes. So, from an audiologist's perspective, what are the potential risks associated with this habit?
So, listening to music at high volumes through headphones or earphones is very common, especially amongst young people. However, from an audiologist perspective, the main risk is noise induced hearing loss. So, the ear has delicate structures, particularly the tiny hair cells in the inner ear, and these can be damaged when exposed to loud sounds for long periods of time. The issue with headphones is that it actually delivers the sound directly into the ear canal. And when the volume is too high, it can cause irreversible damage. So the longer and the louder you listen, the higher the risk of permanent hearing loss, which unfortunately cannot be fixed or reversed.
Mm.
Miss Govender, I just have two questions. First one, can an audiologist sign, like sign languages?
We definitely have modules that we do in campus where we are taught how to communicate with sign language users. I would say that there is definitely a lack in that field. I believe that sign language should actually be taught across as part of the school curriculum, because now with it being the 11th, if I'm not mistaken, the 11th official language in South Africa, we should actually be recognizing it and incorporating it so that we can communicate better with the deaf community. And I think that is very undervalued and definitely deserves more recognition.
Well, that's like some pretty amazing news, hey? That's pretty amazing. So, can you also explain how noise-induced hearing occurs and why is it a growing concern around the youth?
So, noise induced hearing loss happens when the hair cells of the inner ear get damaged by loud sounds. These cells are responsible for transmitting sound signals to the brain, but they don't regenerate. So, once they are damaged, it's permanent. The concern with young people is that many are exposed to high volumes for long periods of time, either through their headphones or their earbuds. Now, because hearing loss can develop gradually, it's often unnoticed at first. So that becomes a growing concern because this can affect their quality of life long term. So early exposure to loud music, especially at high volumes, puts them at a greater risk for experiencing hearing difficulties later in life. And, there is an increase in the use of headphones and earbuds, and that is causing this to happen more and more often. And we're finding it quite common in our field of work.
Well, so that actually goes to show that it's a good thing I don't have any earpods or earphones right now. Thank God for me. So, can you also explain for are there like any specific warning signs that a person could look out for when it comes to indicating that there is a possible hearing loss that they may have?
Yes, so there are a few warning signs to watch out for. One of the most common signs is a feeling of muffled hearing or a sense that sounds are not as clear as they once were. And this can happen especially after listening to loud music. Another red flag is a ringing or a buzzing sound in your ears, which is called tinnitus. Now, this can be a temporary sensation, but if it persists or it happens often, it's a sign that your ears are being overexposed to loud sounds. Now, if you find yourself turning up the volume just to drown out background noise, maybe when you're listening to music or in your car or on a call, it's also an indication that you might be damaging your hearing. So, if you notice any of these symptoms, it's important to take a break from loud music and ideally to get your hearing checked by an audiologist.
Okay, so based on that loud ring that you talked about, I for one actually kind of have that every once in a while. Just like sometimes it's like a very silent but like a very high pitched buzz. So is that like a possible sign of a hearing loss? Because I don't even listen to loud music anymore because I don't have headsets or earphones. But it's something that has always been going on from like early childhood, even right now.
I would say that if because you're saying it's persistent, it's a good idea just to go get your hearing screened so that you know what your hearing status is. And then from there, they can look into whether it's just an annual screening that needs to happen or whether we need to look at any sort of support for your hearing. But with tinnitus, it's a very, I want to say it's a very limited field at the moment that's currently always under research because the damage is happening in the inner ear, there's no surgical intervention that can be done. So we're trying to find ways to sort of retrain the brain to ignore the sound of tinnitus. And one of the methods that we found is most effective so far is through the use of hearing aids for those who are candidates for hearing aids. We find that once they wear the hearing aids, with the hearing aids assisting the ear to recognize the sound, it does actually reduce how aware you are of that tinnitus.
Sheesh.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have been sharing some very insightful information on, the field of audiology and, of course, hearing loss. So, what are some of the effective ways one can use to protect their hearing,
Yeah.
and while still enjoying things like music and social activities?
There are definitely ways to protect your hearing while enjoying music and social activities. So, the most effective way that I find is easy to do to manage the volume and the exposure time is the 60-60 rule. And that I think is a great guideline. So, listening at no more than 60% of the maximum volume for no longer than 60 minutes at a time. So, if you're at a concert or a social event with loud music, taking a regular break away from the noise or wearing earplugs that are specifically designed for music lovers can actually protect your ears without losing out on the experience.
Oh,
That's a
nah.
wonderful one. That's actually great advice because we're about to be streaming live from the Rand show this week, starting tomorrow. So, there will be a music, a live entertainment right there. So, if you're joining us on the Rand show, you can take that advice from Lischka Govender on, protecting your hearing so that you don't also suffer or start to get symptoms of hearing loss. So, Lishka, can you also share some tips on proper ear care that everyone, especially the youth, should follow?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I would say avoiding inserting objects like cotton buds into your ears is a really good idea because this can actually damage the delicate structures inside the ear canal. So, cleaning your ears gently with a damp cloth on the outside is the safest option. Another tip is to avoid prolonged exposure to loud sounds. This is something we did discuss earlier, but it's important to be mindful of the volume on your headphones or in loud environments. If you experience any pain or discomfort or ringing in your ears after exposure to loud noise, then giving your ears a break and allowing them to recover will actually make a difference. Giving your ears a chance to rest from loud music or loud environments can make a big difference in long term hearing health.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. That was actually, yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm getting I'm getting all the information I need because I know I'm gonna be by the live entertainment stage. So I just want to know how often should we be doing checkups on our ears?
So, young people, especially those regularly exposed to loud music, should have their hearing checked every couple of years, so every 3 to 5 years. If you start noticing signs like difficulty understanding speech or ringing in the ears, or even needing to turn up the volume on your devices, it's a good idea to get checked sooner. The early intervention can actually help preserve your hearing long term. For anyone older than around 50 to 55, we would actually recommend yearly hearing tests, especially if they're noticing similar symptoms. And then we're able to keep track because, of course, prevention is better than cure.
Hey, that's like some pretty interesting news. Hey, we're learning a whole lot. So, do you also mind explaining that besides nose exposure, how does stress also contribute towards hearing loss and other auditory issues?
So it's a little known fact, and I actually find this very interesting myself. But stress actually has a very significant impact on our hearing and overall auditory health. When we are stressed, our body goes into a fight or flight mode, releasing hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Now, this can reduce blood flow to the inner ear, which is very sensitive and it relies on a steady supply of oxygen rich blood. In some cases, this can lead to a sudden hearing loss, tinnitus, which is the ringing in the ears, or a sensation of fullness in the ear. Chronic stress can also make existing hearing issues feel worse. So, especially like tinnitus, when someone is anxious or overwhelmed, they might find that their tinnitus is actually louder or worse.
Yeah, that's true. As somebody who suffers from anxiety, I can attest that that is quite true.
You know, TC, when it comes to those whole tinnitus part, I used to think like I had a dog's ear and I could hear everything from a long distance.
Mm,
Because I could hear that, so I'm like, nah, I have
mm.
that super hearing. Yes.
Yeah, you thought you had a superpower there,
I thought I had a
but
superpower
you
of like,
actually had a problem.
because for me, I thought I had a superpower because I could hear anything from like a mile. I was like, yo, I got the dog ears. Only to find out that I actually have a problem. So, could you also provide us with some insight on how stress management can play a role in our auditory health?
Managing stress isn't just good for your mental and physical health, it can also support better hearing. So, practices like regular exercise, mindfulness, meditation, and even getting enough sleep can reduce the harmful effects of stress on your body. That includes your auditory system. So,
What
when
I
you're
want to,
calm, oh,
sorry,
yes, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were finished. I couldn't hear. There's a little bit of a delay on our side sound here.
No problem.
So what I wanted to know, because you mentioned, mindfulness being one of the ways of handling stress, of course. So one of the practices that I've taken part on is sound therapy. So they play sound at a certain frequency. So now, is that good for my health or not? Or is that good for my ear health, my auditory health or not? Sound therapy, because they play, sounds at certain frequencies.
I would say that in this case, the 60-60 rule also applies. So 60% of volume when you are listening and not for more than 60 minutes, because everything within moderation is kind of the rule that we follow in life. Everything can be done, but in not everything can be done. Let me rephrase that. But when you are doing something to either meditate or be mindful, then you're going to do it in small doses as well, so that it is effective. Because if you had to do it for the entire day, maybe your body would find that as a routine instead of a step away from the stress, and you might find yourself associating what you're doing with a stressful situation anyway. So doing it maybe at the beginning of your day or the end of your day, or if you have to step away during lunch or something, I think those are good ideas.
Yeah, that's like very good advice. Hey, TC, we are in school, Baba.
Oh,
We need to take
yes.
notes so that we can hear, especially for us as presenters. We need our ears so we can
Yeah.
listen properly. So, as much as we live in a pretty realistic world, there are still some very mystical or mythological things that are out there. So, what are the most common myths about hearing loss that you would like to debunk?
So there's actually quite a few, but one of the biggest myths is that hearing loss only affects older people. Now, that is definitely not true. More and more young people are experiencing hearing issues due to noise exposure from headphones, concerts, or even gaming. Another common myth is that if you had a hearing loss, you'd definitely know it. But the truth is, it often happens gradually. People may start missing parts of conversations or feeling like others are just mumbling. And finally, one of the last myths that I think is so common nowadays is that hearing aids are bulky or they're only for people with severe hearing loss. Thankfully, today's technology is discreet, it's smart, and it is designed to fit your lifestyle. So hearing care has actually come such a long way, and it is absolutely nothing to be embarrassed about.
Yeah, that's like some pretty okay. So, TC, when are we applying for a hearing loss, Maningi? When
Uh,
are you getting your hearing aids?
yeah, I think mine has to be now. I think. I got a question before wrap up. Before we wrap up, what final piece of advice would you give to our young listeners about protecting their hearing health?
My biggest piece of advice would be don't wait for a problem to occur before you start caring about your hearing. Protect your ears early, keep the volume at safe levels, take listening breaks, and get your hearing checked regularly, especially if you are often in loud environments. Hearing plays such a big role in how we connect with the world, and the small habits now can make a big difference later on.
So, where can our audience find more information about hearing health and the services offered by Hear Care?
So for more insight on hearing health and to learn more about the services provided by HearCare Plus, listeners can visit our website at www.hearcareplus.co.za. You'll find some helpful resources. You can book your appointments online, and you can get expert advice on keeping your hearing in great shape, whether it's for yourself or for a loved one.
Yes, because I can see that right on your website, we can take a free hearing test.
You absolutely can. So
Okay,
that's
I don't know
sorry.
if this is something we
Yes.
can do now live on our show. Um, okay, but I just thought we could do a quick hearing test. but I see the producers are telling me that maybe we are strapped for time. But yeah, for one, found your information and this interview quite insightful and meaningful as somebody who does engage, in social activities that do, involve a lot of loudness, loud noises, and auditory stimulation. Like I said, with sound baths and sound therapy being something that we do partake in for something I call sacred Sunday sessions. So, Afriberry, back to you.
Thank you very much, Lischka, for the amazing interview and the amazing education.
Yeah, there you go.
I see what
An
you
ear
did there.
pan.
Thanks for the amazing education. It's been a very ear-opening experience.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been such a pleasure, and I really appreciate the chance to share more about hearing health. I hope it inspires not just you, but some of your listeners to take those small steps now to protect their hearing because really it is something worth looking after.
Mm.
Yes, thank you very much. We hope that you also have an amazing day ahead. Thank you for giving us the time and opportunity to also learn more about hearing and obviously how to what else to watch out for in terms of our hearing loss or possible hearing loss. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, guys. So right now we're chilling out here with Lischka Govender, who's an ear expert or and better known as an audiologist, who is giving us advice and information on what to know when it comes to your hearing and how to actually properly take care of your ear health. But right now we're gonna take a little short break, and then after that we'll be here with Kiri Boni Mulawuzi, who's our second comedian for the day. We hope you guys are also ready for the jam-packed interview. Coming back.